Good evening. It's your girl Cinnamon Moran, aka Coach Cinnamon Spice, aka your life, youth, and soul coach. Tonight, I want to come to you guys and speak a little bit about overcoming sexual abuse or molestation. A lot of times, people don't get healed from being sexually violated as a kid, and they carry those things into adulthood. What I'm finding as I go through life, that not only young girls are being victims of this molestation, but boys are as well. The thing about boys is they're taught to be strong. They're taught many things to not show weakness. So a lot of times theirs is not reported. Even as for little girls, they're not reported. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a part 1 and a part 2 series, and we're going to talk about how to begin to overcome those effects from being sexually abused. A lot of times sexual abuse is not reported because it's done by people that the kids trust, like family members, friends, close family friends, adults. Period. Like kids are taught to trust adults. We send them to school with adults. We listen to what your elders say. We teach them that from the time they come into this world. So a lot of times they're not expecting an adult to violate them, but that's not the case in the world that we live in. So we have a rapid number of people that um, are in silence. My book is called Generational Overcomers, No More Silence. And a lot of times in families, that's incest and sexual abuse is huge, but there's a silence because you don't want to get your family members in trouble. You don't want to make them mad. You want to be accepted by them. So that's why family healing and breaking generational curses, all those type of things are so important. What we want to talk about tonight is the weight and the guilt that sometimes that sexual abuse carries, from low self-esteem. A child being violated by an adult through sexual abuse can begin to cause low self-esteem. They begin to hate their body. They begin to hate themselves. When time for them to get into relationships, they're afraid. They begin to not demand respect from relationships. They begin to go in and out of sexual relationships looking for acceptance, thinking that's the way to get acceptance. And STDs and pregnancies are higher in cases where kids have been sexually abused. Going into adulthood is the same thing. In marriages, sometimes people get into marriages and they've been sexually abused, and they begin to see sex in a bad way, or become promiscuous and not being able to be faithful, or they hate women or hate the opposite sex. And so many different doors are open after sexual abuse that messes with the person's identity. And a lot of times when people are not healed, or those things are not dealt with when they're kids, they carry those things into adulthood. Um, what we talked about earlier was family issues. We have family issues where a lot of times when the kids do come up front and tell about the sexual abuse, they are ostracized. They become a victim again because the family does not want to come to shame, so they make those kids be quiet. Um, it can cause medical problems, stomach issues, with your private parts. Having issues going in and out of the doctor's office, not knowing what's going on, causing anger. It can cause people to have trust issues with people because you're violated. So when you grow up, you begin to not trust people with yourself, with your being in your space. You can become an abuser yourself. Have thoughts of sexually abusing someone else. You can have thoughts of wanting the opposite sex. You begin to have fantasies about that, the opposite sex from sexual abuse. There's so many things and doors that can be open from being sexually abused. Not standing up for yourself, letting people just run over you. But I want to talk to you about a few steps that I did to overcome sexual abuse. First, you have to acknowledge that there is a problem. You have to recognize that there are issues that follow that, and you begin to seek someone that could probably give you guidance, like a counselor or a coach, or someone that could probably walk you through it. Someone that's probably skilled in that area, that's overcame that area, a counselor or a pastor, or someone that can give you some guidance to kind of build your self-esteem. Secondly, if possible, confront or go speak to that person that has violated you, not to fight with them, but to get your healing, to gain your power back. Thirdly, forgive. You have to forgive, not because you want them to have this joyous life, but because you want to have a joyous life. You don't want anyone or anything to have that type of control over you. Um, Build yourself in the Word of God. If you're not a Christian, I'm a Christian, so that was my saving point. Building myself, knowing that I'm wonderfully and fearfully made. Knowing that God didn't make any trash. I begin to build myself in the Word of God with positive affirmations, different things like that can begin to rebuild your life. Begin to see yourself in a different light, and begin to not only affect your life, but just remember that Anything that affects you affects your kids, it affects your husband, it affects your boyfriend, it affects your friends, it affects your decisions. So when you begin to get healing in those areas, you begin to not only begin to build new legacies for your generation, but generations to come after you. You begin to build healthy relationships, healthy you. There's so much information on self-worth, self-esteem. There's in books and on the computer. If you really want to be free in a particular area, there's knowledge out there. But God was my source. That's why I speak God into people when I go out and I tell them how I built. It was God who helped me to rebuild my life, who let me know that I was wonderfully and fearfully made, that I was, the apple of his eye, and it also goes back to a lot of times people that molest kids, they target kids that, don't have fathers or don't have protectors around. So if you're a single mom or you're someone and you don't have a male protector around, you know, watch over your kids. Even if you do have that, just watch over your kids. Watch who you trust your kids. Watch who you trust your kids staying the night with. If you start dating someone, don't let them be all over your kids and let your kids be all over them. Protect your kids. If you are a perpetrator, and a lot of times people who have been perpetrated upon, they become perpetrators sometimes. So if you have thoughts about kids, seek help. Don't get to the point where all sin, all crimes, everything we do that's wrong, bad, or whatever, it starts with a thought. So there is no one more righteous than the other, because we all have some things that we have to begin to control in our lives. So if you're having thoughts about kids or doing things to kids, seek someone to talk to, seek help. Because once you do that, you're committing a crime, you're violating someone's life, and you change someone's life forever. So for now, I'm your girl, Coach Cinnamon Spice. Hit me up on Facebook, Cinnamon Morant or Cinnamon Spice. GenerationalOvercomers.com is my webpage. My book is Generational Overcomers, No More Silence. Until next time, God bless.